Okay, plotting equations and inequation or inequalities intro. Wow, inequations. Sorry, I haven't gone to work in a couple months. So I saw that you said that you struggled with a multi-step inequality, and you did a fantastic job on inequalities. This is by far not necessary. I just want to keep on, pushing and seeing how far we can take this. So I completely acknowledge that this problem is completely out of uh, out of the ordinary. So first off, let's identify any like terms. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be spending time here. So like terms, there's nothing we can put together yet. So distributive, yes. So negative 35n, negative 7 times negative 6 is positive 42 minus 6n. Okay. Okay, so distributive is gone. Like terms. I see a like term here and here. I can put those together, and negative 35 plus negative 6 will give me negative 41n plus 42. So this is just using the rules of all the stuff that we've done. Yes, it's ridiculous. I get it. And now we don't have any other like terms, but can we add or subtract? Well, before we can do that, we have variables on both sides. Start with the smallest variable. Okay, so that gets rid of that. We're left with 42, 6, and what is that? 36, 41, 40, 39, 38, 37, 36. Just making sure. All right, now we're down to a two-step equation. Can we add or subtract? Yes, we can subtract a 6. Okay, so 42 minus 6 would be 36. That goes away. 36n. Divide by 36, and we will have n is greater than or equal to 1. Yes, that's a ridiculous answer for a ridiculously long problem. So we have n is greater than or equal to 1. I'm going to clear all this stuff off. So 1 greater than or equal to. So there's a solid dot. Greater than, we'll be moving everything greater than or equal to 1. Okay. Yes. Ridiculous, I know. But, using the rules of all the last 5 sessions we've done, this is possible. I want to acknowledge 2 mistakes on the work that you sent over. Very, very minor mistakes, but the things that I've emphasized in the past 3 lessons, which would be checking your answers, substituting an answer in for the variable to make sure that your statement is true. Is your statement true? All right, so I'm going to go ahead and 17 is greater than negative 2y plus 3. Fantastic, fantastic. You got 14. You got your little sign there, but you divided by negative 2. And this is where you had your variable over here. And I'm going to rewrite this problem. I'm rewriting this section right here. Okay. Negative 2y, and that's what it looks like on the opposite. So whenever we have the variable on the left, this is why I mentioned having the variable on the left, and I noticed that you put it down there at the bottom. But it's going to make it look like it's doing a double flip if you leave the variable on the right side. So this right here has been rewritten right there. Now we divide by negative 2. That flips the sign back again. Now you can see how it's a subtle difference, but it's that kind of stuff, man. Like you did all the math right, you got all your calculations correct, but that flipping of the sign, that's the thing that's going to get you. So let's take a look over here. You had the variable on the correct side, so we didn't have to worry about that. Subtract 2, good, that went away. 18, so make sure we're writing the sign in there again. Divided by negative 3. Dividing by negative 3 is going to flip the sign. So that should have been, okay? You even acknowledged that you were dividing by negative 3 by getting negative 6. 18 divided by positive 3 is positive 6. So I know that you did the math correct there, but you didn't label it right, and that kept you from flipping the sign. So simple mistakes, all of your math was correct, just the flipping of the signs, variables on the left, I know. So I want to talk about the symbols for inequalities again. Like if you're reading a problem, you should be able to say these symbols in the way that they're written. For example, 17 is greater than negative 2y plus 3, or 2 minus 3a is greater than or equal to 20. And you can also read them in reverse. So 3 plus negative 2y is less than 17. 20 is less than or equal to negative 3a plus 2. Okay? These symbols are important to be able to read from left to right and right to left, and that'll keep you from making the mistakes that you made on the two problems we just went over. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to emphasize a point slope form. Okay, so this is slope intercept form. I'm going to emphasize slope intercept form and just kind of show you the basics of what this is doing. So what we did is we spent a whole bunch of time balancing equations and everything. So learning how to manipulate those equations and move one piece over to another, and you know the rules, like if you do it to this side, you have to do it to the other side, do the opposite operation, etc., etc. You're getting pretty darn good at that. So now this is going to be a thing that's on your formula chart. You're going to start seeing it. It's going to be slope-intercept form, and then you're going to need to know the parts. There is M and B. All right, so I'm just going to go through this example real quick, and then after this, we'll talk about the parts. So this is going to emphasize a y-intercept and a slope. And the reason that we talk about slope is how slanty a line is. It'll show you a trend. Are things increasing or are they decreasing? And the reason I have a table here of x and y values is because I'm going to use these x values to put into this equation to generate a y value. Dang, why were we checking our answers? Because it's an exercise to practice what happens whenever we substitute x values in. That's what you have to be able to do. So it's a skill that now we are transferring into something that is relevant. Not only are you going to be able to see if your answers are correct, but you're also going to be practicing substitution. You're like, what? All right, so check this out. I'm going to use 0 as an x value. I'm going to put it in for x. We know a number next to a letter means multiply. So 2 times 0 plus 1. And this is where order of operations comes in. Multiplication first. 0 plus 1. Okay? Y equals 1. There we go. If we put 0 into that equation, it gives us an output value of 1. Here is an ordered pair. 0, 1. We go side to side 0, but we go up 1. So what if I did it with 1? So 2 times 1 plus 1. So that would be 2 plus 1, y equals 3. And I want to point out a trend here. There's going to be tons of stuff. I mean, like, you're not expected to take all this in. We're going to really narrow it down to the basic facts at the end, but I want to give you end game up front so I can show you all of the pieces that we're going to need. So over 1, up 3. Over 1, up 3. All right. See this 2? The number next to the letter is going to show you how slanty your line is. This is a positive 2, so we're going to have a line that's going up. It will be increasing. And look at this. It's going up by 1, 2. So it's increasing by 2. This is the slope. It's a positive 2. It's going up by 2. Now what happens underneath every whole number? You got a 1. That's why it's going up 2, right 1. Up 2, right 1. Positive 1, right. If it were a negative 1, it would go left. So just to continue this process of substituting numbers in, 2 times 2 is 4 plus 1 is 5. And look, you can see this is increasing by 2 as well. And then 2 times 3 is 6 plus 1 is 7. You can see that's increasing by another 2. So really, we could have done the first one, looked at the slope and gone, plus 2 is 3, plus 2 is 5, plus 2 is 7. So 2, 5, and 3, 7. So you can see 1, 2 over 1, 1, 2 over 1, 1, 2 over 1. This makes a line that you can see is going up. It goes from the left to the right, increasing. And where did it cross? The y-axis, the y-intercept. The y-intercept is always going to be right here. That's why there's a format. It's going to be your b. It could say -1 and then it would cross through down here. But it says +1, so it's crossing through at +1. So you had a line that crosses through at +1 and it goes up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1. So now let's get into the parts and like what am I even talking about? Slope. Slope means how slanty a line is. Now if we're talking about like a ski slope and you're like, dude, that is a slope, that would mean it's probably pretty steep, that it's very slanty. All right. So as we approach a vertical line, we are getting a massive slope. All right. So it's getting super slopey. So the more it rises and the less run it has. So if it were to go up 100 and over 1, that's very slanty. So m is going to be your slope. M is going to always be represented as a fraction, which is going to be rise over run. That's kind of how far you go up, how far you go over. And here is an example. Y equals 1/4 x plus 2. You would go up 1 over 4, up 1 over 4. And where would you start? You'd start at +2. So check this out. Up 1 over 4, up 1 over 4. And there we go. We have points. We plotted a line. Simple, simple. So your B is always going to be your starting point. Notice that I had +2 there, and I started at +2 on the y-intercept. The y-intercept, where is it crossing through the y-axis? If you were going to throw a pass to a person right in front of you and I intercepted it, it would mean that I crossed that line that you were throwing to that person and I stepped in front of them, okay? I took it out of the line. So whenever you have a y, like we had back here, we had our output. What we did is we put an x value into the equation. That would be called your input. And then we solved it. And whenever we had y equals a number, that was our output. That's what came out of the equation. Those generate ordered pairs. Now, if I wanted to take this equation and do that, we could substitute 0, 1, 2, 3, and put them all in, then add 2, and you'd have y equals, and we'd get these coordinates. So there is the basics. We're going to be talking about slope and the starting point. You're going to be drawing a very basic line on a very basic coordinate grid. So let's go over some examples and see what is this crazy dude talking about. All right, so here is what you're going to be looking at for like doing the work. All right, I'm going to be asking you about M. I'm going to be asking you about B. Okay, so M is your slope. That's going to be the thing that's always next to the variable. That's what X is there for. That's what this template is here for, to tell you that the number that's next to X is going to be your slope, how slanty it is. So the way that I'd want you to write this is your slope is -3 over 1. Wow, that's it? Okay. Then your y-intercept would be your B. That's a +3, so +3. Very simple. The other part that I'm going to be asking you to do for your assignment, and the table is not going to be involved in your assignment. I'm going to keep on emphasizing the table like I did with distributive property and like terms. That's going to keep on coming up, coming up, coming up, coming up. And there's going to be a purpose for it. So right now we're focusing on slope and y-intercept, but I'm going to keep throwing this in. So your starting point would be 3. So let's go ahead. I'm going to just cover this up real quick. Okay. I want to show you how simple this is going to be. And I'm going to emphasize this at the end of the video. Again, I even have a sample problem from your assignment. All you'd have to do is this. All right, so we know that it's crossing at 3. 1, 2, 3. It's going to go down 3, right 1. 1, 2, 3. That's your assignment. That is what I'm highlighting is what you're going to be sending me as your assignment. And you're sitting there going, man, that's too much. All right, well, yeah, it's probably too much whenever we start getting, on the first problem. But we're going to keep going through it. We're going to keep going through it, keep going through it, keep going through it. All right, and then we'll see where we're at. Okay, so we already established that it's going to be here, and that we're going to go down 1, 2, 3, right 1. Okay, 1, 2, 3, right 1. Now let's see if we can generate these coordinates right here. Okay, so plotted the line, that's fine. Negative 3 times 0 is 0 plus 3. Look at that. There's our y-intercept right there. We went over 0, we went up 3. Check. Negative 3 times 1 is negative 3 plus 3 is 0. We went over 1, up and down 0. Check. So the next one should be 2, negative 3. So 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. Negative 6 plus 3 is negative 3. Bam. Check. We went over 2, down 3. The next coordinate, watch this. So our slope was negative 3, negative 1, 2, 3 over 1. So it should be 3, negative 6. 3 times negative 3 is negative 9, plus 3 is negative 6. Check. All right. Now, like I said, I'm going to keep on emphasizing the table. What's the point of the table and the graph? Well, the table is the way to check your graph, and your graph is the way to check your table. If these match, you're correct. If these don't, you're wrong, and you need to go back and you need to figure out where. Okay, so let's take a look at y equals x minus 3. If you want to, you can pause it. You can draw a little plus sign on your paper, and you can put where the y-intercept is, and if that's as far as you get, that's cool. You can write what the slope is. You can write what the y-intercept is. You can generate the coordinates if you want to, and then plot them. It's completely up to you, but just know that we're only focusing on slope, y-intercept, and a simple plot. So whenever we had a variable and we were solving equations, what was always in front of every variable? There's the invisible 1. So if you want, you can just put the 1 there. And what's underneath every whole number that we talked about? Another 1, because 1 divided by 1 is still 1. So our slope is 1 over 1. Both positive, which is good. So up and to the right. Cool, we have an increasing. What's our b, our y-intercept? That's going to be crossing through it, negative 3. So we can go like this. We're going to go start from the origin, go down to our y-intercept. On the y-axis, that's where it's crossing. It's going up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1. Now that's a positive 1, so that means up. That's a positive 1, that means right, because that's where the positive numbers are in a coordinate plane, up and right. If these were negative, we'd be going down and left, but they're not, so we're not. I'm going to substitute these numbers in, and then we can check these coordinates. So you can see that we had a positive line. Okay, forgive my line. 0 minus 3 is negative 3. So 0, negative 3. There is our y-intercept right there. So 1, 2, 3 spots, you're able to check that. 1 minus 3 is negative 2. So 1, negative 2, check. 2 minus 3, negative 1. And you can see it's increasing by 1, plus 1, plus 1. And what was our slope? Positive 1. So take a guess. That's right, 0. So 3 minus 3 is 0. Look at that. Over 3, up and down 0. Nice! So just to give you an example of what would be expected out of you with your work, okay? Just want you to know Just want to emphasize, emphasize, emphasize what is going to be expected. So you're going to have m equals b equals 1 over 1 and negative 3. And all you got to do is go like this. So I went down to negative 3, up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1. And if you only want to do 2 dots because it only takes 2 dots to make a line, then do 2. So up 1 over 1. All right, so what we just worked on was x minus 3. Well, what does it look like if you have negative x minus 3? So if you want to pause it and identify the slope and y-intercept, go for it. So we know that in front of every variable, there's going to be a number. And if there isn't a number, we know there's an invisible 1 there. We know that underneath every number that we have there is always going to be divisible by 1. So right now we have a slope of negative 1 over 1. Okay? We have identified our y-intercept as being negative 3. So I can automatically go over here and just plot that. Y is negative 3. So what about a slope? Down 1, right 1. So if we know we have a negative slope, it should be decreasing, right? It should be slanting downward. So down 1, right 1, down 1, right 1, down 1, right 1. And you can see how that's creating a negative slope. If we read the line from left to right, it's slanting down. That's why we have a negative slope. So let's go ahead and just plug these numbers in. Negative 0 minus 3, it's still going to be negative 3, okay? So there is no negative 0. That coincides with our y-intercept, check, check. Negative 1 minus 3, yep. Negative 4, look at that, 1, negative 4, check, check. Negative 2 minus 3, negative 5. And what's happening to these y values? Look at this, minus 1, minus 1. So take a guess, yeah, that's true. Minus 1. And look, check, 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 check. And it's okay, if you're sitting there going like, wow, this is a lot. I'm having a hard time keeping up. And that's why we're only focusing on tiny bits. And I'm showing you what needs to be done. And I'm throwing in extra. At the very end, I'm going to show you exactly what you need to do for your assignment. So you can pause it and you can identify the slope and y-intercept on y equals 2x plus 1. So we know that the number next to the letter is going to be your slope. And we know that underneath all those numbers is going to be a 1. Because 2 divided by 1 is still 2. We know that the y-intercept is our b, which is going to be positive 1. And we can immediately go over to a coordinate plane and plot this. I have the benefit of having a coordinate plane. You do not. So you'd be drawing a plus. And I'm going to show you at the end of the video exactly what you're going to need to do. So y-intercept, positive 1. Looks like we're going up 2, right 1, up 2, right 1, up 2, right 1, up 2, right 1. And we have a positive line which coincides with our positive slope. So we had a positive slope crossing through a positive 1. Positive slope crossing through a positive 1. I'm going to go through the routine of substituting x values in and generating the y value. So input, output. 2 times 0 is 0 plus 1. 0, 1. There you go. We went over 0 left and right, and we went up 1. 1 times 2 is 2 plus 1 is 3. You can see, look, plus 2. It's coinciding with our slope. Positive 2, positive 2. 1, 3. Over 1, up 3. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. Look at that, still plus 2. You can see the pattern because it's a line. It's a line, so if it is straight, that means it's following the same rate of change. It's constant. It's going to increase by the same amount every single time. So 2, 5. We went to the right 2 because it's positive 2, and we went up 5 because it's positive 5. 3 times 2 is 6, or 2 times 3 is 6, plus 1 is 7. Look at that. We still did a plus 2. So we went right 3, up 7. All checks out. Oh, sorry. All right. Not that we're going to emphasize this very much right now, but what about when you have an inequality? All right, so I'm going to just go ahead and plot this line because we just did it. All right, so this is the non-inequality. This is just an equation, 2x plus 1. That's what it looked like. Okay, now let's do an inequality of that. Okay, so up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1. Okay, so there is a line. And you know how whenever we were plotting on a number line, how we did a solid circle and an open circle to differentiate between greater than or equal to or just greater than. The thing that comes into play with that on graphing a line for an inequality is the line is either going to be solid or it's going to be dotted. And that would associate with the solid circle or the open circle. So and this is why I was telling you, you need to know what the symbols are when you're reading them. Y is less than or equal to, so solid line, everything that's less than the line is going to be beneath it. Okay? So anything in this area right here, any coordinate, makes this true. Anything on the line that's a coordinate, like 1, 3, makes this true. So let's use 1, 3. Let's see if it makes it true. 2 times 1 plus 1, and we said that that was 3. 2 times 1 is 2 plus 1 is 3. So is 3 less than or equal to 3? Yep. So any coordinates beneath this line are on the line. All right. Now we're not going to focus on this today, but I'm throwing it out there. All right. Something to think about. It's going to come up. So what if they look super weird with fractions and stuff? Honestly, it would make you go, I think I'm going to lose my mind, but really it makes plotting linear equations easier. And MacGyver's face right here is priceless. So whenever we're identifying slope, it's still the same thing, except it already gives you the rise and run. The slope is 1 over 2. Perfect. Look at that. Easy. Super easy. Now, the only reason that this would become difficult or slightly difficult is whenever you're substituting numbers in. Okay, so 1/2 times 0 is 0 plus 1 is 1. And we already knew that because our y-intercept is positive 1. Not a big deal. But now look, we got 1/2 times 1 is 0.5 plus 1 is 1.5. And look at this. I just want to point this out. Plus a half. See, it's increasing by half. Our slope was 1/2. It went up by 0.5. So you can take a guess. What's half of 2? 1/2 times 2 is 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. It went up by another half. Okay, so here's where we can use this fraction slope. Up 1, right 2. Up 1, right 2. Up 1, right 2. There you go. There's your line. Fractions actually make it easier unless you have to go check. And if you have a half or something, just pick an even number. All right, so I wanted to give like a real ugly one. You know, like, ooh, that's ugly. Ooh, -2 over 3, not good. The slope and the y-intercept. You know, if you feel like starting with the y-intercept every single time, go for it. If you want to pause, you want to write it down, you want to self-check, do it, man. You can pause it anytime you want and try and figure this out and then compare notes. Plus 4, because that's what it is right there. There's your b. Okay? And your slope given to you, down 2, right 3. Down 2, right 3. So -2 means down because we have rise over run. Rise is up and down. Run is left and right. We have a positive 3 on the bottom, running 3, which means you're going to go right on your x-axis. So let's start at positive 4 and check this out. Down 2 over 3. Down 1, 2 over 1, 2, 3. Down 1, 2 over 1, 2, 3. Okay? So this is where the reason I say this one's ugly is because uh, this will work and this will work. Okay? Those are easy because they're divisible, right? 3 and finding a third of 3 is easy. 0, it's easy to find a third of 0. It's nothing. So negative 2/3 times 0 is 0 plus 4, and that's where your y-intercept is. Bloop, bloop, bloop. Now let's just hypothetically do 1. A negative 2/3 times 1 would be negative 2/3 plus 4 would be 3 and 1/3. Now I'm not plotting 3 and 1/3, but you can see that it kind of looks like it is at 1, 3 and 1/3. It's like right there, right? That is not accurate to me. That's why I want like on the crosshatch where a line crosses and where the lines intersect. That's why I'm going to go to 3. Negative 2/3 times 3. Negative 2/3 times 3. All right, well, 2/3 of 3 is 2, so negative 2/3 of 3 would be negative 2 plus 4 is 2. Check this out. Right 3 up 2. Right 3 up 2. Check. Check. All you need is when you have 2 dots on a line. I mean, what's the fastest point from what's the fastest way to get from one point to another? A straight line. That's why you only need 2 spots, beginning and end. All right, so to get to the end of all this and stop listening to me talk, you can see here that you've got number 4. I'm doing number 4 for you. All right, so this is what the assignment will look like, and here is what your paper will look like. Okay, here's what it would look like. You'd go number 4, and then you'd draw a little plus sign. Okay, and you'd have M equals B equals. All right, so looking at number 4, we can see that our slope, the thing that's next to x, is going to be negative 4 over 3. Okay, which means we have a negative slope. What I'm going to be looking for is, are you drawing a negative line? Are you drawing a positive line? And where is it crossing through? Your B, negative 1. So here is the extent of what I'm looking for, okay? You would go from your origin, you go down to negative 1. Plot your y-intercept. And if you want to estimate going down 4, then do it. Go like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then go over 3. 1, 2, 3. That problem's done. That is all I'm asking you to do. I'm going to go ahead and just make up a problem real quick, just so you can get the idea of how simple I'm asking you to do this. All right, so example. Y equals 2x plus 3. Okay, so here is example on your paper. You're going to draw this thing, a little shoddy coordinate plane, M, B. So slope is going to be the thing next to the variable, 2 over 1, and your y-intercept, plus 3. Okay, I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, plot it, and I'm looking to go up 1, 2 over 1. I want to see a positive line crossing through a positive 3. That's all. This is what your assignment should look like. If there's anything else going on, save it, put a star next to it, write down the question. We will Google Meet. I will go over anything that you have a question on. Nothing to be stressed about. Give it your best try. Identify slope, y-intercept, draw a makeshift coordinate plane, and just emphasize those 2 main points. Let me know if you have any problems.